mentioning of the fact that we had a guest that we're going to discuss about live portrait painting in one way or the other. So, and on that particular one, I do have a guest in studio with me. And speaking of art, art comes in lots and lots of ways. There is actually architecture. There can be fine art. There is painting. Now this one is more of painting. And in studio with me, I do have Roland. I think I would say Roland Teeb. Yes. Roland Teebs.
Yes.
Maybe pretty much that way. You're most welcome to the show, and this is some good piece of work here, though.
Thank you.
Yes, you're most welcome to the show. So, if you're to tell a viewer out there what you do and how far have you gone with this?
Okay, I describe myself as a visual artist, professionally trained from school, but this is a passion that I developed outside school. So I describe myself as a live painter of souvenir paintings, of portraits, landscapes, and events. When an event is going on, I usually have a chance to express myself with a brush and a canvas. Just like we're celebrating a legend, this year was very special. And I was painting while I was running. Actually, I painted this kind of portrait. And I'm still painting it because I've got a chance to share it. So I describe myself as a visual artist of portraits, landscapes, and events. Yes.
Oh, okay. And speaking of that, what motivated you to actually come up with this particular type of art?
Okay, one is for the last 10 years at school, we do studio kind of work. But for me, I chose the other way of going to the streets and painting with children, painting with different groups of people, and then gave me a chance to really carve out my niche of live painting. So there are many other artists who do studio work where they paint, but for me, any space I can paint, I paint on location. If you have a wedding, I'm able to paint your portrait on that wedding. If you have an event, call it a launch of a project or something like that, I paint, capturing the essence of what's happening on the ground. So my nature of work has been through different events, and I'm able to justify these kind of conversations depicting the essence of an event is about. Either it's a themed kind of event, either it's a particular individual we're celebrating, and in essence of the achievements, that's what happens whenever I go out there. Yes.
Normally with art, I've seen most people are now into the art industry, fine art and all of that. If you're to actually also help us, what inspires things like this art? You said you go to events and do that, because pretty much the first time I got to see your work was during on a live was during the MTN IPO listing.
Yes, please.
And what inspires this type of work?
Okay, one, depending on the event's organizer, I come on an event with a plain white canvas, and then I deliberate the conversations. If you're talking about like the IPO, we just finished at the MTN, what I was painting was the statistics of the achievements or the mileage, because like an example, the statement was about MTN sharing, I'm talking about the shared value they were trying to portray in this conversation when they say open up being the 10th in the IPO. And I was trying to paint some conversation saying, look, this is the story painted in color over the last 23 years. Now Ugandans have like 50% shares towards this kind of cause. And basically I captured that moment, and then I involved some of the guests and different dignitaries to put a signature. So I paint the message, the theme, depending on what is shared from the guests and event owners. That's how I call it live painting, because it's inspired in the conversation shared on the ground. Just like that moment was specific, that they were talking about the IPO, and I was painting, capturing that memory, and giving it life on canvas. Yeah.
All right. Now let us take us through the equipment that you normally use, because I can see a lot. Are they colors? Are they? Do you use paint, live paint?
Yeah. Well, I use different materials. Like first of all, I prime canvas. I've been recycling some of these materials I use because I'm very aware about the environment. I've been getting professional acrylic colors, which both are imported and others are locally made. So what I do is I mix my colors, and I have to say all these art supplies are on the market in Uganda, but some I import to make my work very unique and different. So I use acrylic color for those first kind of events because they are user friendly in an event. Because oil colors do a lot of smell because of their chemical composition, but this is water based. So the water-based kind of color is easier to use in that environment of dignitaries, VIPs. So I'm able to use it so it's not smelling like any other colors that need a lot of drying. So that's why I mentioned of you are really intrigued about how do you paint in this environment? Does color affect the environment? People weighing are then not being consumed by the, but this is water-based paint. It dries instantly. So the moment I put a brush, it runs 3 minutes to dry. So by the time I add another, it's complete, yes.
Okay. Let's also, Roland, let's talk about the market here. The market of these paintings. Do artists of your nature have market here in Uganda? And are people willing to buy your work?
Yes, people are willing to buy in the corporate space. Corporate companies have invited me to do their events. Institutions, the universities, churches, different groups have invited me actually to create the art for them because it's a commemorative kind of painting. So mine is saying that the market is there, but it's not smooth because it does take a lot of time to explain. Art appreciation in Uganda is still low compared to other nations I've been to because I've been traveling different states. Across Africa, Europe, America, I've been to these spaces. In Uganda, they have not appreciated the art. Someone says, I need this, but how do you want to deliver it? Others want the experience of having this canvas, like paint, you splash paint and just capture that moment. So basically, I have to say that the way I would rate it is that out of 10, the market for this kind of work is at 60. I really gave it high. It's above the average. So it is market for this kind of work. Yes.
Oh, is it expensive? I would want to also ask how much do you charge now for, let's say, life portrait or maybe a life, how long? Do you charge accordingly to the event or according to the work? Do you have static prices for your work?
Okay, one, I have to say that they vary because if it's a celebration painting, like celebrating a legend, I can charge over 2 million Uganda shillings. Why I say that, it depends on the place, the functionality of that event, and then what materials, because sometimes it needs finishing and framing on it and custom frame. So there's a lot of like beautification that can be added, which has to do cost. But work I've delivered, the expensive work here I've delivered is 7 million. I've delivered work at 15 million. But for international platforms, the least I've done maybe for corporate companies is 5 million. For others, I've done charities. When you ask the prices, is that I've got such kind of work, then we auction. And the highest I've auctioned is $15,000 US, which I know it is so much involved in, but as an artist, I take a percentage. If I say I auction your work, I take a percentage, that's where I'm getting paid. So basically, that part of the pricing vary in different scenarios, events, and if someone wants a portrait for their home, their sitting living room, I can charge them around 700 to 1.2, 2 million, depending on how they want it. So that's quite, a variety of different prices I go with. Okay,
and now let's also look at how, the fact that this industry is one that you said event and funk, and functions, these funks and all of that. If you're to tell us the challenges in such a business, every business has got challenges. You will agree with me. But if you're to take us through these challenges, which challenges can you identify and say this and this among the issues that put us behind more so in such?
Okay, the challenge comes with materials because most of these acrylic professional colors we import. Okay. So importing has a lot of prices attached to it because of taxes. So the challenging bit of it is the materials are very expensive. And even to sustain projects, you need to invest in it. So there's a lot of investment involved, which can be answered by if you raise, you have to do quality, you have to raise more money to that. Now the other challenge is that we have a few mentors who would understand this kind of work and support it, give it a hand to maybe uplift the creativity and all these things. We don't see many people come up. And I see many young people I reach out to are having this all crazy creative ideas, but don't have support. Okay. And then the other bit of it, the challenge is I usually find it, we have very few artists who are practicing. What I mean is that even if you want to raise, make it popular that people get to know, you find that you're one in a many. It's not like music, this is visual art. And then we are always in our studios. And mine being on the site and painting. We are very few who are doing that. I can credit, I have a few other artists who have been doing that. My other colleague is Quizera. If you know, I'm just trying to share that because he's one I've worked with and I know he's doing it. The other colleague is Osbat, if I could acknowledge, is also doing this kind of thing, but their experiences are different. If you ask them their challenges, they'll tell you, you know what, you guys want to pay for this money. They want to pay for this artwork that way. So basically, then the other bit of it is appreciation. Because you might find a home, a family, would say, yeah, I want this at 5 million. Another one says, no, I'm giving you 200. But 200 can't buy even the canvas, you know? So basically, you find people, the appreciation of art in our Uganda here is not advanced like that. But I'm going to call it, it's just an opportunity that we were trying to really popularize the kind of creative arts to make it the next frontier, that every young person would admire this kind of work, because I've been doing it for the last 10 years and I'm proud to say I've been able to put bread on table. And I've carved out my niche to make the world know actually live painting is one of the nice things to do. You saw me at the MTN. I've done many events, international events on these platforms, and I've really earned from it. I don't just proudly say, but it's one of the things that I would want to tell even a young one out there who's creative. Know that there's an opportunity for really expressing yourself and earning from this kind of creative stuff. Canvases, painting, poetry, art. And me being a community leader in my space, I've seen young people learn how to paint because they have seen me do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it solve, if you're to look at the highlights, you say a community leader, normally entrepreneurs or business people who are oriented in most of the art sectors that we've seen, someone comes out to convey information, maybe becoming a solution, or maybe a solution to a problem. If you're to look at the art, what are the things that drive most of you? Do you feel it is helping out solve a solution, or does it change the narrative of how society perceives information? Okay,
partly, I've told you I do live paintings on events. So like particular works, if I tell you the statistics of how this art canvases I've been creating is of impact to community, I might say for the last couple of 5 years I've sold over 500 million paintings for causes. And how does it solve solutions? Like an example, we went at the Kampala School for the Physical Handicapped, painted with children, inspiring them to really create some art, and we displayed it. We invited an awareness exhibition, and so much money was raised for the cause through the artistic approach. I've gone to a function. I remember last time we had Chaka Chaka visit our country, the Prince of Africa. I was painting live, and then we were raising money for the street kids. So we're able to sell the artwork, and it caused, we found a space where it could be used as a tool to fundraise. So it's solving some of these issues, and people would buy it as an item to support the cause. Then the other bit of it is I run charities. I reach out to special needs groups. So I've been painting with them, but on a health perspective, art acts as a therapy. If I've painted works that have reached out to many young people, an example is that we went to the Murago Hospital and painted these walls as a charity cause. We call it the painting weekend. And the doctors were giving us feedback that, you painted beautiful smiling faces. Our patients were becoming few in a children's ward. So art acts as a therapy, it's medicine. At some point you want to ask, how does that translate to where you earn from it? Yes, but the impact is there. If I tell you many other things, is that many young people have resorted to where they teach art, like how I've been doing it, basically in the different platforms that I've been doing it. I've taught art in schools, I've run art clubs, I've learned how to recycle. That's I'm talking about different things that we recycle to add value to our environment. I've used art actually to mainstream, advocate for messages. Sometimes sometimes in platforms, I'm called an activist. Being the fact that in a sense of the things that we do, I would want to tell you in my journey has been where my kind of work reaches out to different millions of people on different platforms. Just like I'm sharing right here, I can inspire someone, you get feedback and say, wow, we like the artwork. Interacting with different great people, I've learned that, you know, we're all champions. Just like Josh Cheptegei.
Okay. Now, let's also help us break down the different type of art. Because although all these fall under fine art, I want to understand these, because I see people doing, those who actually mold things. Here it is also art.
Okay, now, the molding is a component, but there is sculpture. There is, if I model something like this in cement, it becomes a sculpture. There is a painting, there is drawing. You know, like if I paint your face, that's a drawing, it can be an art. And because in an artistic perspective, a drawing is an end in itself, in a sense that it can be exhibited, you can frame it and keep it. Now, there is these other ones who are doing fashion. Someone can put, you know, that's all art. The fashion designs. People who are coming up with different graphicals, multimedia, masks, or you're talking about people who are weaving, you know? All these are different disciplines that give us that chance to be creative, yes? But they range from, okay, from mine, I have a background from School of Art. We have like 10 major that are known. From sculpture, modeling, to painting, to what painting is painting, portraiture, sculpture. Then there is, could they call it batik? All the different people who have practiced these things, and they are really acceptable. They are valid in their own state of the art and the things that they are doing. Right. So basically that is a description of that. Sculpture, painting, drawing, modeling, all those things. They are all different arts, but they are all under visual art.
Okay. Time is actually running out, and we may be ending up from here, but I think the conversation will continuously go on. Though, Roland, lastly, if you're to give a tip to someone who's in this particular segment, what would be that tip that you give anyone out looking at a young child in school right now? Any last few words that you can tell to them, as well as any viewer out there who's wondering how can they achieve from this? Okay,
one thing is that love what you do. I have to say, okay, I'm I call myself a living artist who has lived off the arts and be able to connect, build out networks, interact with the children, and, you know, do many things using the art. So my one inspirational conversation, I would say, love what you do. Share it, expose it. Don't do it and keep it with it. No, expose it. Share with more people. We have with an era of social pages. Let the people know. I mean, around you, first your family, maybe your neighborhood, your aunties and uncles. Let them know of this that you're doing. And if you're gifted artist and a painter, make sure you have the right materials and keep doing these things to make sure people get to know that actually this can be possible. The other bit of it is that associate with the network of people who really are in this field. Because like as I'm associated with different groups, like Uganda Visual Arts Association, I mean, those ones help us to align the kind of arts that we do. Because we become more aware of more events coming up, more people who are really interested in this kind of work. But then, if you're an artist, try to read something about art in your area to widen it. Read something or go to YouTube, learn about what other artists are doing. Because through this, and I have to credit that, even keep watching Smart 24, there is so much of these artistic conversations that are really giving life to the artists in the society. And that's how we devolve. So basically that is something I would want to share.
All right, and that is Roland Teebs. Time hasn't been on our side though, but I hope you've picked out something from the conversation here. Live art painting. As you can definitely see, it is actually making some good way in Uganda's business. Though there are a few Ugandans are appreciating that is a very huge challenge. But for those that have been joining us from where we started from, this is Smart Main's Business. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko, and we've been streaming live on YouTube. So remember to hit the subscription button. Smart 24 TV Space Live. Hit the subscription button. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Smart 24 TV.
If I may say also, like my page, Tibirusia. That would be great to follow up.
And away from that, thank you very much for joining us. Till then, Yugi Tukole is coming up next with Fred Makubia. It's a good